In this lesson, we are going to learn how to describe ourselves and how to describe others. So let's start with this question here. ¿Cómo eres? ¿Cómo eres? Now, you probably know that you could also say, ¿Cómo eres tú? But we're going to kind of stick with ¿Cómo eres? What are you like? ¿Cómo eres? You give it a try. ¿Cómo eres? Great job! What are you like? So, the way that you would answer this question would be either yo soy, followed by adjectives, or, yes, you guessed it, simply soy, followed by adjectives. Before we get into our list of vocabulary words, in this case adjectives, I just want to bring this one up so that I can give you an example. This one right here is inteligente. Inteligente. And the reason I picked that one is because it is a cognate. It's a word that you should be able to recognize without me going into explanations and telling you what it means, because I know you know it means intelligent. So let's say that you ask me, ¿Cómo eres? ¿Cómo eres? What are you like? And I want to answer with, I am intelligent. I would say, yo soy inteligente, or soy inteligente. Do you see how we're going to kind of be pairing up those sentences with adjectives? That's all there is to it. Now, inteligente is an adjective that doesn't change whether we're talking about a male or a female. Whether we're talking about Ana, we would say Ana es inteligente, or if we're talking about Pedro, we would say Pedro es inteligente. There's no change. That is not the case for all adjectives, but for inteligente, we don't have to worry about changing it. Since we brought up Ana and Pedro, let's go ahead and learn how to ask what somebody else is like. For example, I want to know what Ana is like, and I'm talking to you. You obviously know Ana, so I want you to tell me a little bit about her. So I would ask, ¿Cómo es Ana? ¿Cómo es Ana? What is Ana like? And I'm sure by now you probably are able to answer that question without me telling you, because you know how to say she is or Ana is. Think about it. Yes, you are correct. That would be Ana es inteligente or ella es inteligente. Now, maybe some of you decided to get rid of the subject because we can do that in Spanish, and since we already know we're talking about Ana, you could say, es inteligente. Let's look at this other adjective, intelectual, intelectual, intellectual. So now let's talk about Pedro, and I want to ask you, because again, you know Pedro, and I don't, and I want you to tell me, ¿Cómo es Pedro? What is Pedro like? ¿Cómo es Pedro? So how would you answer if you wanted to tell me he is intellectual? Yes, you could say Pedro es intelectual. You could say él es intelectual. He is intellectual. Or, because we already know we're talking about Pedro, you could simply say es intelectual. So now you know the setup. You know, if I say, ¿Cómo eres? I'm asking you, and you're answering about yourself. You would say, yo soy or soy. You also know that if I say, ¿Cómo es? And then I put a name, I'm asking you what that person is like. ¿Cómo es Ana? Or ¿Cómo es Pedro? Then you know you could answer those questions with Ana es and an adjective. Ella es and an adjective, or simply es and an adjective. And of course, the same thing happens for Pedro. You could answer Pedro es and an adjective, él es and an adjective, or simply es and an adjective. So now let's learn a bunch of adjectives that may be useful if you want to describe yourself or others. To say somebody is tall, you're going to say alto, alto. Alto is masculine. However, if we're talking about a girl, a woman, we would say, yes, you guessed it, alta, alta. Alto, masculine, alta, feminine. During our grammar lesson later on in the chapter, you will also learn how to make these adjectives plural. Although I'm sure you're already thinking about it, and I'm pretty sure you're right. You will add an S. But don't worry about that right now. We will focus more on that when we get to grammar. I just wanted you to start thinking about it. Let's say you want to say you are not something, or he is not something, or she is not something. For example, he is not tall, I am not tall. How would you do that? All you're going to do is put a no in front of your verb. So you're going to go ahead and put that no in front of your verb to be. In this case, ser. Whatever conjugation you're using, whether it's soy, eres, es, that no goes in front of it. So, for example, if I want to say I am not something, I would say yo no soy, whatever the adjective is. Or no soy, whatever that adjective is. Short, bajo or baja. Bajo, masculine, baja, feminine. You give it a try. Bajo. Baja. Good. Remember that J sounds like an H in English. Bajo, baja. Good. We already did inteligente, inteligente, intelligent. And we talked about that inteligente could be used for masculine or feminine. It doesn't change. Inteligente. Good. We also talked about intelectual. Intelectual, somebody who is intellectual. And that one also doesn't change in gender. Intelectual for female, intelectual for male. Aburrido, aburrido, boring. Aburrido or, yes, you guessed it, aburrida. Aburrido, masculine, aburrida, feminine, boring. Activo, activo, or activa, activa, somebody who is active. Activo, masculine, activa, feminine. Atlético, atlético, or atlética, atlética, somebody who is athletic. Let's talk about somebody who's nice, who's friendly. We would say simpático, simpático, or simpática, simpática. Simpático, simpática. Friendly. Now, what about somebody who is not friendly, somebody who is unfriendly? We would say antipático, antipático, and yes, antipática, antipática, unfriendly. So let's say you want to say somebody is good looking. So for a female, a woman, you would say she is pretty. The word for pretty is bonita, bonita. However, for a male, you're going to say he is handsome. So we would use the word guapo, guapo. So we have bonita, pretty, guapo, handsome. Could you say somebody is guapa and talk about a female? Some countries do so. However, that's not the standard. Having said that, we would definitely understand you. To be funny is an awesome thing to be, and in Spanish, we have quite a bit of words that are used to describe somebody who's funny. We could say cómico or cómica. We could say gracioso or graciosa. And we could say chistoso or chistosa. So look at all of those words that you can pick from to say somebody's funny. So let's review them again. Cómico, cómica, gracioso, graciosa, chistoso, chistosa. Good. You know that the ones that end in O are the masculine form and the ones that end in A are the feminine form. To talk about somebody who is extroverted or somebody who is outgoing, we would say extrovertido, extrovertido, or extrovertida, extrovertida. Give it a try. Extrovertido, extrovertida. Muy bien. Somebody who is introverted would be introvertido and introvertida. Introvertido, introvertida. You could also use the adjective shy or timid. And in that case, you could use tímido, tímido, or tímida, tímida, shy. To say somebody is romantic, you would say romántico, romántico, or romántica, romántica. Think of romance, romántico and romántica. Somebody who is serious, you would say serio, serio, or seria, seria, serio, seria. Muy bien. Let's talk about somebody who's silly or foolish. We would say tonto, tonto, or tonta, tonta, tonto, tonto, tonta, tonta. Muy bien. To say somebody is a hard worker, somebody who is hardworking, we would say trabajador, trabajador for masculine, and trabajadora for feminine. Trabajadora for feminine. Do you see in this case that the masculine form does not end in O? And instead, what we did is we added an A to make it feminine. Good. That's something to keep in mind. Trabajador, trabajadora. Somebody who is lazy would be perezoso, perezoso, or perezosa, perezosa. You give it a try. Perezoso, perezosa. Great job. Now let's talk about hair color. Maybe you want to say somebody's blonde, somebody's brunette, or somebody is a redhead. How do you do that? Well, here's how it works. To say somebody is a redhead, you would say pelirrojo, pelirrojo, masculine, or pelirroja, feminine. Pelirroja. You give it a try. Pelirrojo, pelirroja. Good job. To talk about a blonde person, say somebody is blonde, you would say rubio, rubio, masculine, or rubia, feminine. Rubio, rubia. Good. In some countries, when we talk about brunettes, some people would say moreno and morena. Moreno and morena. For me specifically, in Colombia and in Venezuela, moreno talks a little bit more about skin color, somebody who is tan. I would say that I am morena, morena. However, some countries would use it for hair color. For me, if I want to say somebody is a brunette, I would say he or she has, that would be the verb tener, tiene, el pelo or el cabello, the hair, brown or black. So I would say, tiene el pelo color café. Tiene el pelo color café. Now, don't worry about that so much right now. Just learn the adjectives, and I just kind of like to give you some of those variations in case you're traveling or in case you're talking to or with Spanish speakers from different parts of the world. Those are all of the adjectives that I'm going to give you for now. Of course, there's a ton more of adjectives that you could use, but we don't want to overwhelm you. Right now, we just want to make sure that you are able to start describing yourself and others without too much to add. You can always learn the rest of the adjectives or any adjective that you need to say a little bit later. And remember, for that kind of thing, since you already know the setup, you can always use the dictionary. And you already know that if you want to say I am, you would say yo soy, and then that adjective. Or if you're talking about a he or a she, él es, and then the adjective, and ella es, and then the adjective. So what if you want to add some emphasis to these sentences? And us Spanish speakers tend to do that quite often. Here are a couple of words that are going to be useful to add emphasis or that you're going to hear when we are describing somebody. You could say bastante, bastante. Bastante is used to say very, quite, pretty. So you could say bastante alto. Él es bastante alto. He's quite tall. He is very tall. Did you see how we added that word and we added emphasis? That is the whole point of these words. You could also say muy, muy. Muy means very. Él es muy bajo. Él es muy bajo. That's probably something that somebody may say about me. Ella es muy baja. Ella es muy baja. She is very short. So we've been saying something is a lot more. How do we say a little? We could say un poco, a little, un poco, or un poquito, un poquito, un poquito. So you could say, ella es un poco seria. Ella es un poco seria. Ella es un poquito cómica. Ella es un poquito cómica. The word e, which is just simply the letter Y, and again, that's pronounced E, means and. So let's say you want to say somebody is this, and that. You're going to use that word E to connect it and say and whatever other adjective you use. So I could say, yo soy baja, cómica y extrovertida. Yo soy baja, cómica y extrovertida. That E means and. Another word that comes in handy is this word, también, también. También means also, also. So let's say we want to say somebody is tall but also intelligent. We would say, ella es alta y también inteligente. So remember, y means and, también means also, muy, very, bastante, quite, pretty, or very, you're adding emphasis, and un poco or un poquito, a little. So now let's go ahead and practice. Again, I'm going to give you a question. I'm going to give you a chance to think and answer, and we're going to continue the conversation. Remember, I'm red and you are green. Ready? Good. ¿Cómo eres? ¿Cómo eres? Excellent. Now, here's Pablo, and I want you to give me a description about Pablo. ¿Cómo es Pablo? ¿Cómo es Pablo? Great job. This is Lorena. So I want you to give me a description of Lorena. ¿Cómo es Lorena? ¿Cómo es Lorena? Very good. Excellent. And that is it. That is the vocabulary for the first part of Chapter 2. We learn how to ask what you are like, ¿cómo eres? We learn to answer that, I am, yo soy, plus adjective. We also learn to ask what he is like, what she is like. We would say, ¿cómo es él? What is he like? Or ¿cómo es Pedro? You could use the name. Or ¿cómo es ella? Or ¿cómo es Juana? What is she like? In both cases, you're going to answer with es, or ella es, él es, or use the name. Pedro es, Juana es. And then, of course, followed by an adjective. We learned a bunch of adjectives. Some of them are masculine, and they change into feminine. Some of them we can use for both masculine and feminine. And at the end of the lesson, we learned to add emphasis. We learned to say very, quite, a little, also, and, the word and. So let's go over those one more time. And, y, también, also, bastante, quite, very, pretty, when you're talking about a degree of a lot, muy, very, un poco or un poquito, a little. So now let's check in and see, how do you feel about describing yourself or others? Are you able to answer the question, ¿cómo eres? ¿Cómo es él? ¿Cómo es ella? Are you pretty comfortable? Do you need a little bit of help? And maybe it would be good to rewatch this video. Or do you really need a lot of help and maybe you want to practice a little bit more before moving on to the next lesson? Remember, this is just a time for you to check in to find out what you need in order to continue progressing through your learning journey. Excellent! I can't wait till we get back together for the next lesson. Adios!